Great, let's get the show underway. Over the past 45 years, he has starred on stage, screen, and television in a huge variety of roles.
He is forever remembered, of course, as Baron von Trapp from The Sound of Music.
He has been linked with Sir Laurence Olivier, Sir John Gielgud, and John Barrymore as one of the finest actors of his generation. Please welcome the one, the only, Christopher Plummer. Thrilled to have you here with us today. Do you get to Toronto often?
Yes.
Okay. So, all this stuff about you being the enfant terrible to work with. Truth or rumor?
Rumor. No, I can actually say a few more words than that.
You promised me during the interview you'll say, well, I want to tell you something right off the bat. When I told my mom you were coming on the show, she said, I just think his daughter is the best actress in the world. I'm just such a big fan. What do you think of your daughter having followed in your footsteps?
Well, I nearly called her Cyrano, actually. No, Amanda, I think she's terrific. I don't want to talk about her. I'm jealous of her as hell.
Well, that answered that question.
No, she's coming here in August, I think, to make yet another movie. I know she's doing well because she's not calling me lately.
Exactly. Well, she can.
And so I'll probably see her this summer when I'm rehearsing here.
Are you close?
Well, no, not really, because I really only met her when she was 18. Which gave us a kind of wonderful relationship in a sense. Like we were pals. I mean, thank God we got on to start with. But there was no sort of icky parent possessiveness. So she went on her own and and formed her own personality and has done pretty damn well. Thank you very much. So I don't think it was a bad idea to
skip the whole adolescence.
Right.
Okay.
I might have destroyed her had she known me.
You're starring, of course, in Barrymore, which is coming to Stratford's. I believe this Friday it opens, and it's an extraordinary show, from what I hear, about the life of one of the most bizarre and brilliant men ever to tread the boards.
Well, it's a very extraordinary character, and it's important to bring larger-than-life people back into the theater. And I think actors should resist playing actors. I don't think it's a terrific idea, but in this case, I've always felt a link with Barrymore. I knew his daughter very well, Diana. When I was 16, I knew her, and so I he was an early hero because that was before Olivier and Richardson and all those other people appeared on the scene. Barrymore was, I suppose, the last great actor after Edmund Booth to play Shakespeare, and yet he didn't play it very much. He was such a libertine. He spent so much time drinking, he didn't have time to act. But when he did act, it was so powerful and so extraordinary. We unfortunately see him later in life on those movies where he's kind of become a slight caricature of his former self. But he must have had extraordinary magic. And this play that I'm doing on him hopefully will show the audience both sides, the kind of self-destructive side, and also the moments of excitement which he must have brought to an extraordinary amount of people. You see, he didn't think he was much value to the world. He didn't really like acting very much and thought it was a shallow profession. And I think that's one of the reasons that he drank and sort of self-destructed. But he had such a huge heart and a generosity of spirit that if that comes across, then we're home free.
Well, it says it's such a dark portrayal, but that there's a healthy dose of comedy with this one-man show.
Oh, no, it's hilariously funny, because he was a hilariously funny man. He was an outrageous man. But there's also the pain show, so it isn't just a flip evening of drunken anecdotes. It does have soul. And the author, William Luce, who is a terrific writer, is a master of one-man shows, The Belle of Amherst, Lucifer's Child. I mean, he's done a host of them. Knows how to turn them into a play rather than just a guy up there trying to be a nightclub entertainer. So I think that it has a chance. We're going on to Broadway, of course, and it doesn't open next Friday.
It opens September 20th.
You made me
September 20th.
You made me terribly nervous. I said, no, I'm not ready.
If you had to, could you go on next Friday?
No. I can't even pronounce the name Barrymore.
September 20th in Stratford is when it begins, of course. Now, there were so many, you were compared to John Barrymore, of course, in the acting field.
Isn't that nice?
What about, which is highly complimentary, now that you've learned so much about him and you're portraying this one-man show, are there any striking similarities between the two of you within your souls or personally?
Booze really was terrific.
That answered that, didn't it?
terrific. I wouldn't be, I would be immodest if I said talent. No, the libertine part, I think I tried very hard to emulate him all through my life. But I've lasted a little longer because I married a terrifically strong lady who and my nurse, of course, who has looked after me and saved my life just in time. I'm very grateful for that.
Is it daunting for an actor, even with your incredible experience, 45 years in the theater, to go and step on the stage by yourself with nobody else and do a one-man show?
Well, I've done one already that I put together myself with a lot of literature from Winnie the Pooh to the Bible. And so I've had a dry run at it. And I know that it can work. And I know when to make them laugh and when to. So I have a sense of orchestration of the evening. No, I'm not worried about that. I'm just worried about being as accurate as I can be in playing Barrymore.
So in terms of his mannerisms, have you obviously looked at films?
Yes, and I don't think it's going to be an absolute total imitation. But I'm close enough physically and to know every now and then you sneak a Barrymoreism in. The eyebrows go up and the voice is easy to emulate. On the other hand, I think you have to be everything that you know how to be in a one-man show. You can't just stick to one guy. I mean, you drive the audience mad. You have to be a myriad of personalities within that one guy. And that's going to be what as he did.
Exactly.
I mean, I get to imitate his brother Lionel and his sister Ethel and Luella Parsons and all those people. So I've got to really listen to their voices very carefully and do that, right? So there's a lot of variety.
I want you to answer this with complete candor, and I know you will. You're about to come on a show like ours or numerous others, and we say he's best well loved and known as Baron von Trapp from the Sound of Music.
Well, thanks a lot. It was nice to see you.
And you call it the Sound of Mucus. How do you really feel about that being your handle?
I don't think it was me that invented that phrase. We all joked about it at the time. I think Julie Andrews was just as guilty of that witticism as I was. But suddenly the press had to pick a bad boy in the whole outfit, and they picked me. So
do you have any wonderful memories of that experience that has stayed with you for so long? And that, well, the audience said, well, from the Sound of Music, right? I mean, this is...
No, except that, you know, I would rather have worked with dogs than kids, but... That's not true.
Well, they're making Benji 4.
Did you realize that the Sound of Music would be such an enormous success?
Neither of us did. No. And Julie and I, you're quite right. Send me up. Make a noise after that remark. No, we both thought it was okay. They just pulled it out of the drawer at 20th Century Fox. It had been sitting in that drawer for 8 years. And they said, oh, well, let's do a musical. What happened was that the success of it saved the studio.
Yes.
If you remember that story. Cleopatra had completely
finished them off.
And we'd saved them, so we did some good.
At least economically.
Yeah, and the trip to Austria was divine. It's one of the most beautiful countries in the world, and I go there all the time to listen to the music festival. It's not, and it actually is not a Sound of Music tourist town at all. I think it's perfectly gorgeous and very prosperous because we did bring, I think, something like $690 million or something into that town.
They must have your face on the population sign.
Yeah, every time I go, I'm honored, actually. There, somebody honors me. The mayor honors me. And I feel like a Habsburg returning to his empire. You know?
Now, Barrymore does open Friday, September 20th, of course, at the Stratford Theatre. Everyone's most excited, and we look forward to your show.
Well, I'm so glad you mentioned it.
Is there anything else you'd like to say? Something that would surprise us about you, Christopher? Something that we don't know about you before you leave us today?
Oh, my God. What could you mean? Well, yes. I've always been a hermaphrodite.
You know, look out, Barbara Walters. I knew that we would get that from him today.
What else can I say?
Now, would you explain to the children in the audience what a hermaphrodite is?
Yes, of course. After school.
Oh, you are blessed with wonderful wit. It's just been terrific having you on.
Thanks a lot.
Christopher Plummer.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
When Ion Toronto returns, Mary Paddles with some great tips on taking your next day trip. We'll be right back.